Hey, new guys, I want to talk about a new series of videos I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel. And this is for, I like to call it kind of the pros and cons of certain technology, or what I like and also hate about it. And I think it's going to be interesting. Some of it's going to be go over what on previous topics, but it kind of all puts it all together. I think I decided the first thing I'm going to talk about is graphic cards, in particular Nvidia. Anytime you talk about major graphic cards, there's usually only two. Basically, we're talking about here is Nvidia and, of course, AMD. Previously, ATI, it was bought out by AMD. And there's really a lot of good things and bad things about it. And so I'm going to go over that now. For Nvidia, they are really powerful graphic cards, and in both gaming and pro apps, because you can use the CUDA for computations that make it much faster than software rendering, such as the CPU and multiple cores. And compared to it seems to AMD, they are excellent cards. Another thing I see is excellent driver support. And I'm not only talking about Windows. I primarily use Macs, and I've been using Linux for probably going on 15, 16 years. So I'm going to talk about support in both. Now, if I am going to use Linux on a computer, I most likely am going to use Nvidia graphic cards simply because they're better supported. You can use the native drivers written by Nvidia directly into and install them in Linux, or you can use the open source versions. Will work too, but it has a better graphic interface for controlling various aspects, or like a control center. And off the top of my head, I can't remember. I believe Catalyst is with AMD. But anyway, so yeah, much better supported in Linux, it seems. In Macs, driver support as well, because you can actually, even if the graphic card is not native supported in Mac desktop. Now, let me go first into supported graphic cards, because normally supported ones are the ones that are put out by Apple, or ones that are licensed, authorized by Apple to make third-party graphic cards, which means when you boot up, you're going to get a boot screen and all the way to the desktop and other support. Now, going into the newer Maxwell graphic cards by Nvidia. Now, those aren't natively supported by the Mac desktop, so you actually got to download the Nvidia drivers, install them, and now they will work within your Mac. Now, this is probably for the older Mac Pros. The newer Mac Pros, it doesn't matter as of yet, because you can't. They don't have any PCI slots. Yes, you can use Thunderbolt, but eGPUs through the Thunderbolt is not nearly going to be as fast as internal. Excellent Mac support in the drivers as well. Now, you don't get a control center per se as like you do in Linux or Windows, but still you're going to get much better support, and they do quicker updates as well. Also, I think we see lower temps and less power draw than comparative AMD graphic cards. Now, let me go some of the cons of Nvidia. Things that I don't like about Nvidia is you tend to get vendor lock-in in both professional apps and in gaming, and we're going to see that here in a minute. Now, while Mac or Nvidia supplies excellent driver support for Mac, they're basing their drivers on specific versions of the Mac desktop. So you could do a Mac desktop's operating system update or security update that could actually break the Nvidia drivers. You could actually boot to a blank screen, which is a bad thing. So they're kind of basing on that supposedly Nvidia says this is a feature, but to me it's not very productive as far as that goes. And it tends, like I said, when I say vendor lock-in, I'm talking in like pro apps and gaming as well. In pro apps, it seems that you're bound to use CUDA, so you can enable the GPU for other things other than gaming or even the desktop in general. So you can use it in video editing and so on. But it's kind of locked into CUDA, which I don't like at all. And another thing, also in gaming, which we see with GameWorks, and GameWorks is proprietary as well as CUDA, so it kind of locks in a lot of features to Nvidia only. Now, AMD decided to go the other route and open source nearly all of their technology as far as supporting in software, in games and other things. In fact, there's a certain feature that was open source that even Nvidia used for their graphic cards in their games. Also, another thing with vendor lock-in with GameWorks for Nvidia is it tends to, you get poor performance in using AMD cards, and it's not necessarily that AMD is not good for games, it's just because the vendor lock-in with Nvidia tends to screw over performance for AMD. So those are some of the pros and cons of the Nvidia. I think they're great graphic cards. They do have advantages and disadvantages. Now, there may be some more disadvantages in for Nvidia. Like I said, there is a little bit of vendor lock-in with the CUDA for professional apps, and it may even go into there's certain aspects that they can't do hardware-wise, so I think they tend to maybe use CUDA to try to make up for the software-wise. I'm still looking into it. It's actually way kind of above my head. I really got to do a lot of research on that. Hopefully I'll have time in the future, and then that'll probably be also a separate video.